my name is Jennifer Kovarik, and I'm the registrar at Vesterheim Norwegian American Museum in Decorah, Iowa. And as the registrar, I get to care for collections, but I also get to share them. And one of the places that we have much of our collection located is a place called the Bouder Landsgaard Collection Study Center. And you can see that here. We have about 6,000 or more of our objects here, and especially some of our amazing folk art pieces. Now, our Collection Study Center is truly a study center, and we invite a lot of people to come into this space, just like I'm inviting you today. So let me show you a few of the things that we have here in the collection. You can see we have these amazing shelves that we call compact shelving that move the objects along but allow us to store them in a very small amount of space. And as I said, we have over 6,000 of our objects here. These are some of the ale bowls that we have in the collection. Now, if and when you're able to visit the museum, you might see a lot of these on display, but a lot of them are tucked away as these are here. I'm just going to pull out a couple of our sort of special pieces here. This is a beautiful ale bowl called a shinga, and it has horse heads, but it also has these beautiful ram heads on it too, so it's a very special piece that we have in the collection. Now, this piece is really representative of a lot of the things we do. First of all, it's a piece of folk art, and we invite people to come and study that. We also teach people to make these kinds of bowls here as a part of our folk art school. This is also a great representation of the other ways that we connect with people, since this piece has been on loan most recently and has been at different locations, not just here at Vesterheim. So you never know where you'll see Vesterheim pieces. Sure. Well, as I said, we have some compact shelving in here, so I'm just going to roll this shelf down so that we can have a look at some of the other beautiful objects that are here in this storage area. Now, we have a lot of really small objects in this particular area, although some of these down here on the bottom aren't exactly super small, but a lot of small objects on this side of the space, and then we'll have a look at some of the larger objects that we have on the other side of the space. So you might be looking at some of these things on the shelves and thinking, wow, these are all super, super old pieces. Well, the thing about Vesterheim is that part of our mission is to share, to collect, to preserve the living traditions, the living heritage of Norwegians in America. And so a lot of these traditions continue on. So we have, for example, we have beautiful older pieces like this one here, this Tina box, beautiful rose mold piece. But we also have newer pieces that are created by more contemporary artists. And so here's a newer one, if you think 1959 is new. I'm also just going to pull out another newer one. So I'm going to zip over here because we are always getting new things in for the collection. And this is a beautiful piece that has yet to come onto the shelf, but very similar to the pieces that I just showed you. And this is a one that was done just a few years ago. So lots of pieces, old, newer, and newest, right? Well, as I have said before, I think that one way that Vesterheim shares its collection is through loans. And for those of you that may have visited Vesterheim in person, you may have seen this chair on the second floor of the museum. But we've gotten a request for a loan, and which we hope is going to go through. So we've pulled some of the pieces that you may have seen before. They are off of rotation so that they can go out and be shared with wider audiences. This piece, as well as another favorite piece of many, this beautiful drinking horn by Lars Kinsarvik. We not only have shelves, but we also have drawers where we keep a lot of objects. I'm just going to roll down a little bit so that you can see some of the things that are in drawers here. So in here we have a lot of plates that we keep flat, which is a good way to store things. So these are all, basically all of these pieces are rose mold pieces or other flat sort of folk art pieces here. And you'll see that our shelves are numbered and the drawers are numbered, and this is so that in our collections database we can note the location and then we can go right to that location to find these objects when we're putting them on display, when we're bringing them out to show groups such as folk art classes, or when we might be sending these items on loan. There's also another interesting thing on these shelves here, and even here on this box. So these little dots here, we take our collection stewardship very seriously, and so we want to make sure that if there were a natural disaster or something was happening in this space and we had to move things out, we have noted that these objects in these drawers here have a special meaning, have very special stories, and they would be the first ones that we would want to grab. This is one of those objects that we would want to grab first too. This is a dishwashing liquid bottle that has been rose mold. So that's one of the interesting pieces we feel like we would want to grab in case of an emergency. Well, let's move down just a little bit, because it's not only rose malling that we have here. We have all kinds of pieces, wood carved pieces, burnt decoration, and even things that are sort of more kind of utilitarian. So some of you may be familiar with these. We have lots of Lefse rolling pins on the shelves. We have fun little objects like egg cups. And we also have things that you might find in your own house. So, wow, look at all of the ceramics that we have. So maybe you or your parents or grandparents might have these kinds of things in your house as well. So folk art, beautiful things, everyday, useful things. We have more shelves down here too. These might be a little bit more interesting than, or drawers. These might be more interesting than the other ones that we were looking at with just a couple of plates. We have a ton of storage for spoons. And a lot of them have beautiful decorations on them, or not. And that's the great thing about Vesterheim's collection, is that we have many beautiful things, and then we have things that people might find not so beautiful, but they're interesting to us because they show process, they show how people have been living or are living their lives. Here's a great piece. A couple of friends who love this piece so much, and it seems just so very, very simple, but as you look at it, it's very well crafted, and as was pointed out to me, you can even see the fingerprints in the paint that's been applied to the surface. Well, maybe we should go look at a couple of the more interesting pieces that maybe you might want to look at when you're here at Vesterheim. We have a lot of, as I said, wood carved pieces, but here are some of our mangle boards. These were used as they're irons, or kind of used for pressing or breaking in new cloth, and they were betrothal gifts, engagement presents, so they're quite fancy. We have a number of these at the museum. Also have a lot of Hardanger fiddles. Beautiful, beautifully decorated. I'll pull these out. Because often we have to make special mounts or supports for things. And so here we have a special mount or support for this Hardanger fiddle. And for those of you that don't know about Hardanger fiddles, they have a row of sympathetic strings that run underneath the top strings, and so those vibrate when you're playing the top strings. And sorry, this one doesn't have its bottom set of strings on it. Well, we have silver, we have all kinds of metal, and then we have some kind of weird and wacky and strange things sometimes. So I'll see if I can find a couple of those things here. As I said, we have things that represent the experience, so even fun little things like this cute little cash register, little toy. This is, we catalog a lot of things. This happens to be the gauze that was in the medical kit that the Hamren brothers brought with them over on the Tradewind, the large boat or ship that we have in the museum. So we have their medical kit. Here's one of the pieces from their medical kit. So lots of small objects, everything from folk art to fine art, but then we also have a large portion of our trunks in this section here in this Collection Study Center. And some of them are really huge, some of them are really small, some of them have painting and decoration on them, some don't have anything at all. But a lot of them have beautiful rose mulling on them. And they're pretty heavy, so we don't rotate them or move them a lot. But you can check out a number of these online on the museum's virtual gallery, or of course, you can call us up. We can send you an image, or perhaps you might be able to visit Vesterheim to see a lot of these pieces, even the ones that are behind the scenes, because we're here to share, and we want to make all of this accessible to people. So just call us for an appointment. I just want to show one of our newer acquisitions here. It doesn't look like much, but we're so excited. Check it out. Vesterheim has a unicorn. We have a unicorn on a trunk. And in the museum, we have a trunk that has a rainbow on it. So there's always something interesting. Now, like I said, we have over 6,000 objects in this collection study center, but that doesn't mean that we're not actively collecting. There are always stories or motifs or artists that we want to have represented in the collection, and so we always encourage people to contact us because we have gaps. We have gaps. Even though the collection started in 1877, we still have gaps in the collection, and we appreciate everyone who has donated and given to the collection.